There is a quiet truth about life that most people don't fully realize until much later than they would like. And that truth is this: the most important part of any goal you chase, any dream you pursue, or any success you hope to achieve is not actually the result itself, but the person you are forced to become along the way in order to reach it. Because when we think about goals, we often imagine the outcome. We imagine the moment we succeed, the moment everything finally works out, the moment where all the effort feels justified and all the struggles suddenly make sense. But what we rarely think about is the process. The long, slow, sometimes frustrating process that shapes us in ways we cannot immediately see, but that ultimately defines who we are. And the reason this matters is because outcomes are temporary. You can reach a goal, celebrate it, and then, after some time, that feeling fades. But the person you become in the process, that stays with you. Let's take a step back and think about how change actually happens. Most people believe that change begins with a big decision, something dramatic, something powerful, something that feels like a clear turning point. And while those moments can be important, they are not what sustain change. Real change is built in the quiet moments. The moments where no one is watching. The moments where nothing feels exciting. The moments where you have a choice between what is easy and what is necessary. And in those moments, you are shaping your identity. Not in a loud, obvious way, but in a subtle, consistent way that compounds over time. Every time you choose to follow through on something you said you would do, even when you don't feel like it, you are reinforcing the identity of someone who is reliable, disciplined, and committed. And every time you choose to avoid, delay, or make excuses, even in small ways, you are reinforcing a different identity. And this is where things become interesting, because most people focus on what they want to achieve, but very few people focus on who they need to become in order to achieve it. For example, if you want to be successful in your career, it's not enough to just want success. You need to become someone who is consistent, someone who can handle pressure, someone who is willing to learn, adapt, and improve over time. If you want to be healthy, it's not enough to want results. You need to become someone who values discipline, someone who shows up even when it's inconvenient, someone who prioritizes long-term benefits over short-term comfort. And this transformation does not happen overnight. It happens slowly, quietly, through repetition. It happens when you wake up and choose to start, even when your mind is telling you to wait. It happens when you continue working, even when progress feels slow and uncertain. And it happens when you keep going, even when part of you wants to give up. These moments may seem small, but they are not, because they are shaping the way you think, the way you act, and ultimately, the way you live. There is also something else that is important to understand, and that is the relationship between discomfort and growth. Most people avoid discomfort. They see it as something negative, something to escape, something that signals that something is wrong. But in reality, discomfort is often a sign that you are moving in the right direction. Because growth requires change, and change is rarely comfortable. When you are learning something new, you feel uncertain. When you are pushing your limits, you feel challenged. When you are stepping outside your comfort zone, you feel resistance. And it is very easy in those moments to interpret that discomfort as a reason to stop. But what if, instead, you saw it as a signal to continue? What if discomfort was not something to avoid, but something to understand? Because the more you experience it, the more you realize that it does not last forever. It passes, and what remains is growth. Another important idea is patience. In a world where everything feels fast and immediate, patience has become rare. We want quick results. We want visible progress. We want confirmation that what we are doing is working. But the reality is that meaningful change takes time. It takes time to build skills. It takes time to build habits. It takes time to build a life that reflects your values and your goals. And during that time, there will be moments where nothing seems to be happening. Moments where progress feels invisible. Moments where doubt starts to appear. And this is where most people stop, not because they are incapable, but because they are impatient. They mistake a lack of visible results for a lack of progress. But progress is often happening beneath the surface. Just because you cannot see it does not mean it is not there. Think of it like planting a seed. You put it in the ground. You water it. You take care of it. And for a while, nothing happens. At least, nothing you can see. But beneath the surface, something is growing. Something is developing. Something is preparing to emerge. And if you stop too early, you never see the result. The same is true for your efforts. The work you are doing today may not show results immediately, but it is building something. Something that will eventually become visible if you continue. Before we close, I want you to reflect on something simple but powerful. Instead of asking yourself, "What do I want to achieve?" try asking, "Who do I need to become?" Because when you focus on becoming the right person, the results begin to follow naturally. Not instantly, but inevitably. So today, instead of trying to do everything at once, instead of trying to force rapid change, instead of waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect feeling, just take one step, one action that aligns with the person you want to become, and then take another tomorrow, and another the day after that. Because in the end, your life is not defined by a single moment of success. It is defined by the person you become in the process of getting there. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.